Imagine starting a company inside a small suburban garage with almost no money, no giant investors, no billion-dollar factories, just two young friends with an impossible dream to put a computer into every home. At the time, almost everyone believed computers were machines built only for governments, universities, and large corporations. Ordinary people had no reason to own one. But two young men refused to accept that idea. Their names were Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. In 1976, they founded a company that would eventually change the way billions of people live, work, communicate, and create. That company was called Apple. Today, Apple is one of the most valuable companies in history. Its products are used by well over 2 billion active devices around the world. From iPhones and MacBooks to Apple Watches and AirPods, the company has built an ecosystem that millions of people rely on every single day. But Apple's journey was anything but easy. Long before becoming a global technology giant, the company faced financial struggles, fierce competition, and even the departure of its own founder. In fact, there was a time when many experts believed Apple was on the verge of collapse. Few people realized that Steve Jobs was actually forced out of the company he created. Without its visionary leader, Apple spent years struggling to find its identity. Sales slowed, products became confusing, competitors like Microsoft dominated the personal computer market. Many analysts predicted that Apple's best days were already over. It seemed like the company that once inspired an entire generation of innovators might simply disappear. But then, everything changed. In 1997, Steve Jobs returned to Apple. It wasn't just the return of a CEO. It was the beginning of one of the greatest business turnarounds in corporate history. Jobs made one bold decision after another. He simplified Apple's product lineup. He focused on quality instead of quantity. He insisted that technology should be beautiful, intuitive, and easy to use. Most companies competed by offering more features. Apple competed by creating better experiences. That philosophy would soon lead to products that didn't just enter the market. They completely transformed it. The iPod changed the music industry. The iPhone reinvented the smartphone. The iPad created an entirely new category of personal computing. And together, these products would turn Apple into something far greater than a technology company. They would transform it into one of the world's most powerful brands. But how did a company that was once fighting for survival become worth trillions of dollars? The answer lies in a series of bold decisions that reshaped not only Apple, but the entire technology industry. Steve Jobs understood something that many companies still struggle to realize. People don't simply buy products. They buy experiences. While competitors focused on technical specifications, Apple focused on simplicity. Instead of giving customers dozens of complicated choices, Apple created products that worked almost effortlessly. Open the box, turn it on, and everything simply worked. That philosophy became Apple's biggest competitive advantage. In 2001, Apple introduced a small music player called the iPod. At first glance, it looked like just another MP3 player. But it wasn't. Combined with iTunes, the iPod completely changed the way people bought and listened to music. For the first time, millions of users could legally purchase individual songs instead of entire albums. Within just a few years, Apple had transformed the music industry. But an even bigger revolution was about to begin. In 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and introduced a product that would change the world forever. The iPhone. At the time, smartphones already existed. Companies like Nokia, BlackBerry, and Motorola dominated the market. Most phones had physical keyboards, small screens, and complicated software. Apple took a completely different approach. A large multi-touch display, a simple interface, powerful internet access, and software designed for ordinary people instead of technology experts. Many competitors dismissed the iPhone. Some believed it would never succeed. They couldn't imagine people paying premium prices for a touchscreen phone. But consumers saw something different. The iPhone wasn't just another phone. It was a pocket-sized computer. And when Apple launched the App Store in 2008, everything changed again. Suddenly, developers from around the world could create millions of applications for one device. Navigation, banking, photography, gaming, education, health, communication, entire industries began moving into people's pockets. The iPhone quickly became far more than Apple's most successful product. It became the foundation of an entire digital ecosystem. Every new customer who bought an iPhone became more likely to purchase a MacBook, an Apple Watch, AirPods, or subscribe to Apple's growing list of digital services. Instead of selling a single device, Apple was building a connected ecosystem where every product worked seamlessly with the others. And that strategy would eventually become one of the most profitable business models the world had ever seen. By the 2010s, Apple was no longer just selling devices. It was creating one of the most powerful business ecosystems in history. Every product was designed to work perfectly with every other product. Buy an iPhone, and suddenly, an Apple Watch becomes more useful. Buy a MacBook, and your iPhone instantly syncs your photos, messages, and files. Add AirPods, and they connect automatically the moment you open the case. This seamless experience became known as the Apple ecosystem. It created something every company dreams of: customer loyalty. Millions of people didn't just own an Apple product, they lived inside Apple's ecosystem. And once customers entered that ecosystem, many rarely left. But Apple wasn't satisfied with selling hardware alone. The company began expanding into services. Apple Music, iCloud, Apple TV Plus, Apple Pay, Apple Arcade. These subscription services generated billions of dollars in recurring revenue every year. Unlike hardware, which people replace every few years, services create continuous income month after month. This made Apple's business even stronger and more predictable. Another key to Apple's success was its incredible control over both hardware and software. Most technology companies rely on different manufacturers and operating systems. Apple does the opposite. It designs its own chips. It develops its own operating system. It controls its own app store. It operates hundreds of Apple stores around the world. This level of vertical integration allows Apple to optimize performance, security, battery life, and user experience in ways that many competitors struggle to match. Then came another breakthrough: the introduction of Apple Silicon. When Apple replaced Intel processors with its own M-series chips, many people were skeptical. But the results surprised the entire technology industry. MacBooks became faster, quieter, more energy efficient, and offered exceptional battery life. It proved that Apple wasn't just a consumer electronics company anymore. It had become one of the world's leading semiconductor designers as well. Meanwhile, Apple's financial performance reached extraordinary levels. Year after year, the company generated enormous revenue, industry-leading profits, and massive cash reserves. Eventually, Apple became the first publicly traded company in history to reach a market value of over $1 trillion. And it didn't stop there. Its valuation later climbed beyond $2 trillion and even $3 trillion, making Apple one of the most valuable companies the world has ever seen. But perhaps Apple's greatest achievement wasn't simply becoming richer than its competitors. It was turning innovation, design, and customer trust into one of the strongest brands ever created. And that brand continues to influence how billions of people experience technology every single day. Today, Apple is far more than a technology company. It is one of the most recognizable brands on the planet. From New York and London to Tokyo and Dubai, millions of people line up outside Apple stores whenever a new product is released. But Apple's greatest strength isn't simply the iPhone, or the Mac, or even its billions of dollars in revenue. Its greatest strength is trust. For decades, Apple has built a reputation for quality, simplicity, privacy, and premium design. When customers buy an Apple product, they know what to expect. Reliable performance, long software support, seamless integration, and an experience that feels carefully designed from beginning to end. That trust has allowed Apple to charge premium prices while maintaining one of the highest customer satisfaction rates in the technology industry. Of course, Apple's journey hasn't been without challenges. The company faces intense competition from brands like Samsung, Google, Microsoft, and many fast-growing Chinese manufacturers. Regulators around the world are increasing pressure on the App Store. Artificial intelligence is rapidly changing the future of technology, and consumers now expect innovation faster than ever before. To remain at the top, Apple must continue doing what made it successful in the first place: innovating without losing its identity. Whether it's custom-designed chips, mixed reality devices, artificial intelligence, health technology, or products that haven't even been announced yet, Apple's future will depend on its ability to create technology that people truly want to use. Few companies in history have survived at the top for nearly half a century. Even fewer have changed the world more than once. Apple did it with the personal computer, then with digital music, then with the smartphone, and later with wearables, services, and its own silicon chips. Each time, the company didn't invent every technology. It refined them into products that millions of people loved. That may be Apple's greatest lesson. Success isn't always about being first. Sometimes, it's about being the company that does it best. From a small garage in California to becoming one of the most valuable companies in human history, Apple's journey proves that vision, relentless innovation, and an obsession with user experience can transform a simple idea into a global icon. Thanks for watching Hermosa Explained. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more videos about the world's biggest companies, mega projects, fascinating places, and luxury. See you in the next episode.